Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell, and welcome to the 2023 Winter Spectacular. I'm very excited. I'm glad you're here. We're going to jump to Board Game Breakfast in just a second. But I want to say a few things before we jump into the whole Winter Spectacular. First of all, we have a lot of different sponsors that have given us games to play, and I'm very excited. I want you to check out each of the games we play. And we want to say a big thank you to the World Series of Board Gaming who's sponsoring this. We had such a great time there this past year. We're going to be going there again in 2024, and we're going to be doing a Q&A with them over this. I'm excited about all of that. I want to say a huge thank you to the Dice Tower staff. They really worked hard at putting this together. If you like what you've seen from Chris and Wendy and Roy and Z and Camilla and Joey and Mike, and they've done a great job, and Lindsay and Amy and Nancy behind the scenes. And I want to say thank you to all of them. They do a really hard job of putting this together. We're going to be doing a lot of top 10s. Best of the year. I love this stuff, folks. But I want you to keep in mind that when we do these, we haven't had a chance to play every game that's come out this year. I just came shy of 300 games. And that's a lot, and I didn't even come close to cracking the servers. So every game on our top 10 list, we do our best. We just try to play the games and pick games that we think are fantastic. I'm excited. We have a live top 10 each day of this spectacular. 4 straight days here. We have lots of live games coming. We have tons of different, like I said, top 10 lists, Q&A, and tomorrow we're going to be introducing the Dice Tower Hall of Fame. So lots of cool things coming your way. So let's get started, and we're going to start with Board Game Breakfast. So here is Wendy, Roy, and Chris. Take it away.
Hello and welcome to the Winter Spectacular. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Roy Kenny.
And you know what? It's kind of chilly outside, which is weird for South Florida.
Shorts.
It's in like the high 60s, baby. Ooh, it's cold. I need a sweater.
Florida has made you weak.
I have a sweater, and I'm still cold.
Sweet summer child.
All right, well, today we have an extra special breakfast for you. We've mixed up a couple things, so I hope that you're ready for that. And we have a contest.
Oh, yes, we have a contest from the World Series of Board Gaming, which is the sponsor of this event overall. The World Series of Board Gaming is a competitive event where you can go and play board games competitively. And if you want to enter our contest, all you have to do is go to contest@dicetower.com and enter in the subject line WSBG, which stands for World Series of Board Gaming. This will get you an entry into this for a $275 voucher to enter basically the competitive World Series of Board Gaming thing there. A few of the Dice Tower crew went there last year. It was just awesome to see the great camaraderie between all the people and the competitive play. And they give out like these awesome rings for each of the ring events and things like that. It's just cool to see a board game played at like such a high level. And everyone there was extremely nice at the same time. I've been to a lot of competitive things where that's not normally the case. It's been amazing. It's been amazing to see how awesome like this is put together. So definitely check out World Series of Board Gaming if you want to compete. If you want to go along with someone else who's competing, it's just a lot of fun. And it might make one of my top 10 lists this year as well. So you might have to see me talk about it even more there.
In fact, we have some of those games streamed on our channel previously. So if you're not sure what it is, go check out some of those games.
And we have even more of those coming up as well too. So a lot of those final games, if you want to see the games played at an extremely high level, check those out.
Yeah, and so World Series of Board Gaming, like Roy said, is the event sponsor for the entire Winter Spectacular. There'll even be, if you want to know more about it, a Q&A tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning after the Dice Tower Hall of Fame stream. It's in that same block. So come and check out one of the guys from WSBG, John.
John, who runs everything. John is an amazing dude. If you watched any of our vlog stuff, it's just so fun to see like how he hypes everybody up for all the competition, everything. It's just really fun.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm excited that he's coming in.
This tree is alive.
It's coming alive!
Is it touching you?
Welcome to Christmas!
It was like shaking in my peripheral.
It's very festive.
It is flocked.
One thing that we also want to do is thank our Kickstarter backers. The Dice Tower Kickstarter is coming up January of next month. That's not how you say that. But from this last Kickstarter, we have several backers. We'd like to thank them. First off, Valentin Milenkov, Thank you so much. Angela Fortunato, who is in our very live chat right
What?
now.
What?
Everybody,
No.
drop a big ol' woo-woo for Angela in the chat.
Put your hands in the air, Angela, with your emojis.
Michelle, monomer, one name only, Michelle. E. Van Diesel. You
Oh,
know
wow.
him.
Vin Diesel's here? Oh, no.
I thought you meant Monomer was her last name.
Oh, no, yeah, no.
He does a ton of stuff on Favorite Game Friday. He's the man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Nathan Wooldridge, thanks so much. Daniel Weitzman, or Weitzman maybe. Eric Fontaine, Travis Johnson, Gene M. Watson, and we're going to end here with Jonathan H. May you ever remain a mystery, you last name less person.
And live
I'm
long and
pretty sure his
prosper.
last name is...
Oh, I didn't consider that, yeah.
Oh, Jonathan. All right, do y'all want to know what's going on today?
No.
For the Winter Spectacular, we have some good stuff going on. So we have lots of top 10s for the year, various and different subjects of that. We have the art project is getting played, so is Skyrockets and Forever Home. We also have a big top 10 at 3 o'clock, the top 10 games of the year with Bonacore, Camilla, and Chris.
Chris, that's me.
It's going to be
It will be Chris time, in
fantastic
fact.
day today. Going to be fun. So let's go ahead and get started with some contributors.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure. Playing Indiana Jones Sands of Time is rather easy. On your turn, you're going to move your character to any location that the bad guy is not currently at. Although keep in mind that each character has special powers that can activate, including Indiana Jones's, which is he can go where the villain is at. Once you're there, you activate the location, which will usually be drawing cards into your hand, and there is a location that allows you to play a card. What you're trying to do when you play a card is kind of play a game of Uno. So you want the card to match in color, or it can match in item. If the item matches, you can change the color. You're trying to play the cards with the people on it because that will attack the bad guy. And as you attack the bad guy, his energy will go down and you want to be able to defeat him. But after you play an action each turn, you will have to roll a die, which will normally either activate the bad guy's ability or add a gem to this little sand timer. When the sand timer is full or is able to flip over, then the timer will start and you'll become the second phase of the game. And the second phase is a little bit different. You can play cards, as many cards as you can on your turn or want to, including attack cards that you're able to play. The only other thing is if you have a snake, then you have to roll this dice as quickly as possible, hoping to get a torch. Otherwise, the game is kind of at a halt while that is occurring, and it kind of slows it down. By the third round, if you're able to defeat all three villains, you'll be able to win the game. If you're able not to attack him enough to defeat him, then you will cooperatively lose the game. And that's a quick overview of how you play Indiana Jones Sands of Adventure. This game is dripping with theme. You got the 4 characters you can play. You got the 3 bad guys you're going to be going through. You're going to be collecting gems and powerful cards and fighting those Nazis and bad guys. You're going to have the first part of the game, really, which is the setup, which will trigger into the real-time part of the game. Don't let the real-time scare you. It works in this aspect as you're frantically playing cards. Where the cards kind of let you down is they are just pictures, and you're almost playing an Uno-style game with those. But I think it's fine. Each character has their own unique power. You got the little real time. You're collecting the cards and building up. And you don't want snakes. That really fits into the theme. So this one I would say, not the strongest of themes with the IP and the mechanics, but I think it works just fine. And if you're an Indiana Jones fan, this is probably the best game on the market. Definitely a keeper for us.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today we are going to be talking about a very silly, very goofy, very clowny game by All Play called Big Top. So let's just get straight into my thoughts. One thing I liked about the game is, number one, it's a bidding game, which I love bidding games. Over the past year, they've been one of my favorite types. It's just awesome. And they put a very good twist on this type of bidding. What they've done is while you're bidding on your cards, you are also completing your cards that you've won from previous bids that are in your tableau, which is really cool, and it helps you score a lot of points, and it's awesome. Another thing I like is that the art is very, very interesting. But all play games kind of have different art, and this is different. in a good way. It's kind of silly, it's kind of goofy, and as I said in my review, if you want to go check that out, that it looks like a unicorn puked on the front of the box, which is a positive thing. Another thing I like is that when we bought this game at Gen Con, we bought it with premium metal coins that they feel necessary. Like, because you're touching the coins so much as you're giving them to other players, receiving them, or anything else like that. They just feel necessary because I couldn't do that with cardboard. They just feel heavy and premium and nice. So definitely, if you're going to buy this game, add that on. Another thing that I like is that they've provided you with player shields, unlike the coins, but they provided you with player shields, and you might be just like Oliver, like they're player shields, but they have player aids on them, which gives, beginners a little bit of a boost if they need to see a rule that they didn't really understand or something like that, which I think is super cool. And make sure to have a very silly, very goofy, and very clowny breakfast. Bye!
So,
JK.
you notice that you saw the mailbag intro. That's because we're doing something slightly different this episode as a special for the Winter Spectacular. We're doing three, I don't know why I point out one finger, mailbags. That's going to be Board Game Breakfast today.
That's 2 more mailbags than we normally do.
Yes,
That
and
is.
4 fewer other segments, but
Makes it feel like a holiday season where we get gifts of mailbags.
exactly. So let's go see who today's first mailman is, a familiar face.
Here's a mailbag question from Mr. Mandar, and it goes like this. How do you deal with non-gamer family and friends who try and gift you a game that you don't really like a themed Monopoly, Uno, what have you? You can tell they put effort into it, but also don't really understand. So for me, that's a tricky one. I would be very, very gracious in the acceptance of that game. I would keep it, I think, for a while until I really, really needed the space. And the thought would certainly be what counts in that occasion. I would also, to keep it from happening year after year, I think, maybe share a little bit about what it is I like about that hobby. Some folks are going to have a hard time extrapolating what all of this hobby entails. Just like I would be a terrible gift giver if somebody was a stamp collector and I went to the post office and bought them a book of stamps and gave them that. I need to be informed if I intend to give them a gift of that kind, of the thing they really like, or just abstain altogether. And if they won't do that, then bring them a little bit into my hobby, let them know the things I like, the breadth of it, and that just might scare them off enough from getting me something that they now know, oh, he's not really going to be interested in this.
All right, I like that. I like Z's response to the question because in general, even outside of board gaming, we've all gotten gifts that are like, oh, thank you. It's a natural course of
I am a
gifts.
terrible gift receiver, to the point that I have practiced how to receive a gift, because I used to just have no facial expression if I wasn't excited about it, and then I realized that people are like, oh, you don't like it. I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't like it. So I've worked at it. I've worked at it a lot, and I'm like, oh, thank you. See, that's my happy, excited thank you face.
Yeah, sometimes honesty is not the best policy when it comes to this.
True.
Nobody wants you to be too honest if it's, you got to respect other people's feelings, but I think all of us at some point in our board gaming thing, especially if it gets out that you like board games, then you get gifted a copy of Monopoly, It's like, this is a Monopoly theme. They find a theme that you like, and you're like, I'm Monopoly. And I'm like, yeah, cool, yeah, the theme, yeah.
Yay.
This will sit on my shelf as like a thing, and then your friends come over and make fun of you for having Monopoly for years. But you're like, I got this from a friend,
Yeah.
It's still in shrink.
It's special.
Does that count?
I do tell people, not right away, right? But I do tell people that, I rotate through my collection, we cull games out. And so that helps that we, generally speaking, do that. So that, after a little while, I'll tell people, oh, yeah, I'm kind of, moving some games out. I haven't really played that copy of Monopoly. It becomes a moment to kind of talk about, we get a lot of games, and so we move some out, bring in new ones and stuff. Yeah, so I don't think people to get too upset. Generally speaking, if after like a year or two, you're like, oh man, I haven't really played that copy. You figure out the way to kind of massage the point across.
Yeah, the person. You know what? We've had the opposite problem where we've tried giving a game as a gift, and if it's not in shrink, if it's not brand new, we've had friends assume it's a bad game that we're getting rid of.
Not as like a Christmas gift. We're like, here's this open piece of crap. But like,
yeah, but
when
like,
we're like, oh, we're moving
hey,
games
yeah,
along.
do you want this game? And they're like, oh, I assume it's a terrible game. You're getting rid of it. And we're like, no, we just go through so many games, like, and this is a good game, and we think this is good for you. And they're like, yeah, but it's probably not good, right? We're like, no, this is a good game. Then why are you getting rid of it?
Yeah, I think people are confused by the massive quantity of games that we sometimes have.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sometimes we get rid of good games. This game is a really solid game. I have played it to death. It's amazing. There you go.
Right. Yeah, I've had this game for years. That is a funny issue. And I really like Z's point that he made in the video of when, like, if you do have that person who does gift you a game, Uno, the Mandalorian edition, and you're like, okay, cool. The idea of then inviting them in to actually play some games with you, I'm not sure if this is how he said it, but the way that I kind of interpreted, the way that I felt it was like, either the person will kind of have that experience with different games and realize, oh, cool, there's more to this world than I thought, or they'll say, holy smokes, this guy owns a lot of games, I should stop buying him any, and you kind of like intimidate them out of it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's a hilariously like solid point. When if I gifted someone like here's like a 5-pack of like cheddar cheeses, I know that you're really into cheese. If they invited me over and it turned out that they have like a massive cheese collection and they have all these things I've never heard of. They have Savant Gruyere and active mold stuff, like trying to punch its way out of a glass cage. They're like, oh yeah, that's my living cheese. I'd be like, got it. You don't care for my 5-pack of cheddar. That's not what you're looking for.
Is living cheese a thing? I'm
don't-
terrified
It is now.
Probably been an episode of Doctor Who, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
When the cheese attacks. I mean, for me, a lot of times if that happened currently, I'd be like, this is great, this is going to be awesome. But in the back of my head, I'm going to be thinking, my kids are going to love this. I don't know. There's certain games that like especially if it's a game that I don't care about, then I let my kids play it by themselves.
Oh, that's fair. And if the pieces get lost, who cares?
It's like, hey, you guys now have a copy of Uno. Hey, you guys now have a copy of Monopoly. And I mean, I'll even help teach them how to play it and like have them. But it'll be a thing they can do on their own, But then it's like the Haba games, we'll play those together, so that way they don't end up to the 4 wins,
Right.
Well, let us know what you all think. What would you do if you got a game?
Yeah, I like
someone?
something that Mark McNair particularly said is that you just always show gratitude
for sure.
Definitely.
because it is
Definitely.
still a thoughtful gift, and I love that. And his example, like a deluxe copy of Scrabble, like he never plays Scrabble, but that's that's a thoughtful gift, and it's a nice thing
sure.
to put up because it's meaningful to the person who gifted it to him.
Those bookshelf games are really pretty.
Yeah.
So if someone gave me a set of those, yeah, for sure.
I might
bookshelf.
use that more as like decor somewhere. Like on top of our game shelf at home, we have these giant chess pieces that we found from
From Ross.
yeah, one of those discount stores. They're selling for like a few bucks a piece, and they're normally like $20 for this gigantic.
Like hunk of wood.
Yeah. And so like we have board game related decor.
Right, yeah.
And so if someone gave me like one of those bookshelf Scrabbles or Risks or something.
Yeah, I would totally make that a display item in my Calyx.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to some contributors.
Hi everyone, it's Stella, and this is Taryn from Maple University, and this we have is the expansion of Ark Nova Marine World.
Yes, let's see if we can get through this video without this very skinny box falling over.
Yes, go.
We should talk as well. So this is just kind of like a cards expansion, really. I felt playing through with this expansion, it added more and it added little bits of variety without really changing the game, which is fine. I think. It's like playing Talisman growing up and just having an expansion that was just more cards with a couple of different things that happened.
I don't mind with this. I do like when you play something, you just like engine build your thing. The more you have it, and then the more you activate that certain icon.
Yep, that's the reef. That's,
reef, thank you.
Coral
Yes,
and
the
reef
coral reef.
types of things in
Yes.
thing. So it adds some water creatures. It adds aquariums where you can put them.
The building aquarium, yes.
It balances out the deck gets bigger, but then it balances that out by adding some cards which sweep it through a little more. So it kind of remains, I think, in balance with where it was originally.
Yes.
I think the thing that changes the game the most is that you draft different action cards at the start. They have a couple of individual powers.
Yes.
They're not game-breaking powers, but they're things that you can work to your
It's
advantage.
slightly different, like your building. Like they are like several building, but then each upgraded card has got slightly different powers, and they're really nice. Like you can build on top of water or rock, for example, by paying a certain amount. When you upgrade it, you actually gain money when you actually use that power. The photos that we show here with the 3D upgraded components, by the way, does not come with the game. And that is Marine Worlds. Thanks so much for watching. See you later.
Happy breakfast, everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about Deductio, which is all about trying to work out what number someone has. So there's a deck of cards that's numbered 1 to 20, and everyone is going to get a secret number. On your turn, you can do one of two things. You'll give clues, or you will guess someone's number. Now, to give clues, you take a look at one of the 3 in the market. They're going to be stuff like, well, this number's not between 4 and 9, or maybe it's just less than 14. You're trying to give as little information away as possible by taking one of those cards and playing it in front of you. If none of them are actually true about your number, you have to take all of them and put them horizontal to say, none of these are like my number. Instead of giving information away, you can try and guess someone's number. Maybe you've whittled it down to a 50-50 and you think, I'm going to go for it. Let's take a punt. I think you've got number 5. Hopefully they reveal it and you were right. You take that as a point and it's the first to 3 points wins. Or you get it wrong and you then have to give 2 bits of information away about your card from that market in the middle. It's a really good sort of brain-burning number-based puzzle. If you're looking for a quick card game, it's not for you. But if you're looking for a deduction-based puzzle with numbers that you can really work out and be very logical, it's really good, especially even as you add players. At 2, it's really fun to work out what your opponent's number is, but with more people around the table, you start risking it a little bit more. I have a 3 in 1 chance of getting the number, but if I let it go round the table a bit more, someone else might guess their number before me. So you start to risk it. But that's Deductio. I've really enjoyed it. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your breakfast.
All right, so we're going to get into our next mailbag segment, all the mailbags.
All the mailbags, all the time.
Let's see who we have as our mail person this time.
All right, this next question is coming to us from Jay Franklin. Would you like more games to come out with soundtracks to go along with the game? For example, Sleeping Gods has a soundtrack that is coming out with their new game, Distant Skies. I think some light music playing in the background can certainly add to the theme of a game. Oh, Jay Franklin, I could not agree more. I'm a huge proponent of this, especially if it's a really thematic, immersive game. I like to create the setting in my house as well. There's a couple different websites that I use for this, but if the game company specifically or the publisher specifically designs a soundtrack to fit that setting, I'm absolutely 100% on board. One of my favorite examples of this is the Subterra game. They have a soundtrack that you can get on YouTube, and it's just this creepy cave sounds track that every now and then you have this screech of the horror, and it absolutely sets the mood for the game, immerses me in the theme, and I'm all about that. I'm there. Yes, absolutely. I want more of this. Back to Chris and Wendy to disagree.
Edward.
And me! But yeah, so soundtracks in games.
I think she thinks we're going to disagree with her.
I don't think we would. But yeah, it's really cool. How do you guys feel about having a soundtrack in games? I mean, me personally, I don't think you can play War of the Ring without the Lord of the Rings soundtrack in the background. You're like doing a disservice to the game. If you
No, I only listen to Leonard Nimoy's Bilbo Baggins song. Bilbo Baggins, bravest little hobbit of them all.
That would actually be pretty awesome too, honestly. I would like to listen to the soundtrack of like the old cartoon, like Frodo of the Nine Fingers. I mean, I'm down for all of the hokey Lord of the Rings music as well. It's just fun.
See, I think it depends on the game. There's plenty of games that I play that are not very thematic, therefore they don't need thematic music. And it depends on how loud and intense it is. Because if you're playing like a very cooperative game that you're talking a lot, I don't want loud music that I have to like speak over. But if we're playing a game that has a lot less conversation, then I'm okay having more music.
I think one of the sad things too is we do so much live streaming and so much stuff that like there's so many games that music would complement it, but we can't because we're live streaming it and it would all get picked up by the YouTube algorithm. I used to like stream games on Twitch back in the days, we played Twilight Imperium for like forever, and we'd want to play music, but we would have to like not because it would like flag and like mute our entire stream. You know, so that's an interesting thing that like is very specific to people who are content creators. But I love like adding stuff like playing Star Wars Rebellion with the Star Wars soundtrack, playing Marvel Champions with like the Avengers like in-game soundtrack, you know. Or like playing with Star-Lord and playing with the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. It's just so much fun
100%.
to do all this stuff and it just adds to the feel and the theme of it. And of course you want to play it super low so you can still concentrate and like pay attention to what's going on in the game. But it just adds to the theme of a game, I think.
Right. And the question being about like specifically Distant Skies, the new Sleeping Gods.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Ryan Lockett is a Renaissance man, right?
Did he write that music?
I think he and Mallory, both his wife Mallory Lockett, did.
That's
Is it just a whole soundtrack for the game, or?
Yeah. Like it's specifically, hey, this is Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies, the soundtrack. And I think that's amazing.
They're so talented.
That's really cool.
So talented. I mean, I haven't listened to it yet, so I assume it's good.
If you watch the Kickstarter video, like they use some of their music in there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so even like a year or 2 years ago, whenever that Kickstarter was, I was like, holy smokes, got it. At the end, it was such a flex. Ryan and Mallory are very humble, like really nice people. But at the end of their Kickstarter video, they were like, game design, Ryan Lockett. Story writing, Ryan and Mallory Lockett. Video editing, Ryan Lockett. Sound, piano, Mallory Lockett. I was like, we get it.
You guys are the
They
best.
could do everything.
Even games like that are app-driven, like Mansions of Madness, that has that creepy ambiance and soundtrack, and then like certain things will happen in the game where you hear like clashing and clattering, and like it has like sound effects throughout the game as it goes along. It just adds so much to the game.
I agree. And so I understand not everybody can like, well, let's just compose our whole soundtrack. But strangely, it was, I think, Flashpoint South China Sea. It was a GMT war game.
Oh, wow.
It was like a little Twilight Struggle is kind of what it was billed as. A little card-driven war game. And what they did was on the back of the rule book, they said, here's 3 QR codes. So depending on what the intensity is, like the nuclear escalation intensity, here's 3 different Spotify playlists.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so
okay.
it was just music. It was just like, just general songs that are available out there. They specifically made a playlist of like tensions low, here's some kind of easygoing songs. Tensions medium, the CCR starts coming out. Bang, gang, 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 bang, bang, right? Like it was kind of cool to see that. I didn't end up listening to too much of it, right? But I thought that's a neat way to do it if you're not.
That's a fun touch.
If you don't have the surname Lockett, for example.
Jason says he likes to listen to metal while playing Calico. It adds to the experience. Honestly, listening to metal during any board game adds to the experience.
Chess. Yeah.
Those Wildcats, man. And they're comfy, comfy blinkies.
I think we need to do a poll like bring back Chris's long hair. Bring back Chris's long hair. Metal Chris.
Oh.
We can get you a wig.
No, it's not the same thing. It's just that awkward phase of in between short hair and long hair. It's just literally the worst.
Oh, yeah.
It's so, yeah. So I was curious. So I looked up on Spotify. I just typed in, for example, "Escape the Curse of the Temple," and it's really funny. So there's a playlist here that doesn't have the official CD, the ambient timer music, but it's got like a bunch of Indiana Jones stuff, and someone photoshopped. Sorry, we didn't prep better.
Oh, you can't see this.
Yeah, but someone has photoshopped Indiana Jones running away from the boulder, like with the escape. The Curse of the Temple Queen Games logo stuff.
That's cute.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean it's fun that obviously people on Spotify have had the same thought. They want to make playlists and then share them for other games. We listen to Metallica when we play like Eldritch Horror. They do a couple of Cthulhu, theme songs and just like slow chuggy, like What is
We're gonna mosh this Elder God so hard.
Have you played Fuse?
No, I haven't played Fuse.
Oh.
That's frantic.
So Fuse, real-time dice game, you play it to a 10-minute timer, and you can either use a timer or Renegade had an app, or maybe still has it.
It's like a soundtrack app.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's got like a computer voice. It's kind of like GLaDOS in Portal, where like every once in a while it'll start talking to you and be like, "You have 6 minutes remaining. Odds of survival are incredibly low."
When the timer runs out, you do not get cake.
Yeah, it's like teasing you and stuff. And so even if that's not like soundtrack, like you said, ambiance that the publisher intentionally put effort into, and also a little bit of comedy and levity. I loved that. I thought that was such a good touch.
It adds to the game. It adds to the experience.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess we should get to some more contributors.
Happy breakfast, everyone. As part of the
Welcome to One Word, One Question. Today's word is 5. Now, a lot of people give reviewers flack for either overrating or underrating certain games. But in reality, shouldn't most games just be average? So today's question is, what percentage of games that you've rated are a 5? That is, take it or leave it. Not great, not terrible, just an average game. As for myself, approximately 21% of the games that I've rated are a 5 out of 10. So let me know your percentage in the comments. I look forward to reading them. And if you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to Board Games, Bricks, and Hobbies. Take care.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany, Board Game Reviews.
Today we're talking about Forbidden Jungle. This is a full cooperative game from Matt Leacock. It's in that Forbidden line of games that started with Forbidden Island and was all the way up to Forbidden Jungle now. This has been a kind of a staple of our cooperative collection for a while now, although they kind of get increasingly more challenging and increasingly more complex. And this is probably the most complex of the series.
Yeah, there's a lot more bits and stuff involved in this game than, well, I guess there's a lot in Sky, but there's like a lot of little pieces happening in here, and there's a lot of things roaming the board as well. It's not just adding a sand tile, or it's not just flipping a tile. It's like this animal, this little creature goes here, and then it's going to move here, but this one moves here, and wherever this one is, more things happen. So it's definitely like a lot more of a game than its predecessors.
That being said, it is more complicated, more involved, but everything is very clear.
Yeah.
So like there's eggs get dropped, eggs grow into these hatchlings, hatchlings turn into adults, adults move around and sting you and drop webs.
The hatchlings are terrifying. I did not like looking at them in the game. They reminded me of centipedes. Oh, just like thinking about them now, it like super grossed me out.
She was very motivated to try to get those off the board first.
Not the hatchlings, not the adults, but those, no, the hatchlings, not the eggs or the adults, but those,
So I thought this was a really clever system of using these randomizing tiles, the different symbols on the back of the tile, so that way you could kind of figure out which direction things were going to move. There's also those machines that you could uncover, and as you're using these machines, they allow you to move the tiles around. You actually get to move the tiles, you get to blow up some tiles, you get to do a lot of different things using these machines that you're uncovering as you're roaming around the board, uncovering things.
But tell them, Ryan, where does this land in the 4 for you?
For me personally, this has got to be number 1. Number 1. Forbidden Sky was a pass. I loved Forbidden Desert, and Forbidden Island is a classic.
Ryan
this
played
has got to be my number 1.
Ryan played it before I did, and he was just talking about it for like a day. Like, oh, and this really, I really like how it does this. It's really, I'm like, okay, let's just play it. Let's just play it. Everybody, if you want to find us or hear more from us, make sure to find us on YouTube or Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Until then, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany. Hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye
guys.
Okay, so before we hop into the last mailbag, I want to talk about this topic of rating everything a 5. Or not everything, but the majority of games, should they be a 5?
Averaging
yeah,
to a 5.
averaging
Yeah,
to a 5. That's an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, when you look at board gaming as a whole, and that's going to include
every bad game,
like the Monopolies and the Unos and stuff, the stuff that I don't care for. Like, if I include all of that, then I think gaming averages around a 5, right?
Right. I try to actively not play games that are super terrible most of the time, you know? I mean, we do see games, we gravitate towards games that we already know we're gonna like, so that probably skews games that we play in general above that. And that's a big reason why we have the channel in general, is to try to help people find the games that they're going to like, so that they don't end up having to play the games that they would rate a 5 or lower, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because when I think of what is the difference between a 1 and a 3, they're very similar. And so, I mean, they're just garbage. They're terrible. If I give something a 3, if I give it a 1, it's just bad no matter what.
I think 1 and 2 are basically like borderline broken. They're not playable, you know?
Yeah, ones are. Like, I rated a game a 1 this year because it basically, well, not basically, it actively encouraged you to, like, push people over and stuff.
Oh.
And I was like, that's like a lawsuit in a box. That's a 1, you know?
Yeah.
And
I don't think I've ever given a 1. I've given some 2s. I've given some 3s and some 4s. 4 is like, this game is bad. So to get it all the way down to a 3 is, like, this is broken, this is terrible, this is,
yeah, I think
make no meaningful choices throughout the entire game. That's what.
For example.
This isn't even a game. This is nothing. It's not even an activity. It's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
But, like, I would say that your average game that comes out from, like, Ravensburger or from, like, a known publisher like that, like with some name recognition, I imagine the average is going to be closer to a 6 to a 7 because they're not making the games that we're talking about.
Right. I think generally game design overall, like there's more resources out there for people to make good games, and publishers are getting better at making games and just figuring out how to make things fun, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, game design theory is out there for people to know, like, this is how we make something that people like. It might not resonate with everybody, but it'll be a solid game that works, you know? And so that skews people's ratings higher because they have fun with the game, you know?
Yeah.
The way that our scores on the Dice Tower work for people that don't really know what they mean is, like, a 4 is a not great game. Like I said, the 1 through 3 is just terrible, right? A 5 is I don't really want to play this again. A 6 is, or I guess a 5 is more, I don't like this.
Yeah.
It's still fine. It's still a game. I don't like it. 6 is more it's fine, but I don't really want to play it again. And a 7 is yes, I like this game. This is a game that I recommend. I will actually, pull it off a shelf and play it with someone. And then everything above that just gets more amazing. The 8.5 is our seal of excellence. Like, this game is a fabulous game, and everything above that is just more fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I think that this is going to lead into actually our last mailbag question. Not that I happen to know what it is already or anything.
Is our next mailman Santa Claus?
Yes.
All right, the mailbag question is, with the huge amount of new games, it's impossible to review them all. That is correct. If it were possible to pick the reviews you did ahead of time, what types of games would you prioritize? Highly advertised flops, unknown gems, best in the category, best of the year, etc. Well, I mean, I can pick the reviews I do ahead of time to some degree. So I just pick games I think I pick games for two things. I pick games I think people are interested in hearing about, and games I'm interested in talking about. So those kind of there's a lot of overlap in between those, but sometimes people are like, oh, we're really interested in this game. I'm like, well, let's play that game and find out if it's good or not. And then everything else I like to talk about. I don't really care if it's a big flop or whatever. I just like talking about games, whether I like them or don't like them. So I kind of just pick what I want to play and review. That's not very... I could talk about this for hours, but I'm not allowed to.
I mean, he is allowed to. He's our boss. He can do whatever the heck he wants.
No, I'm in charge.
Also, he's Safari Santa.
Safari Santa, baby.
Safari Santa. I don't think I've seen that hat before on Tom.
It's been a long time since I've seen him wear it.
It's because you haven't seen him on a safari.
That's true.
If you go on more safaris with Tom, you'd see.
We need to go to Everglades,
just wait till you see the
Tom.
machete.
I'd like to go on a surfing safari with Tom.
Ooh, I mean, that basically was Florida Santa, wasn't it?
More or less, yeah.
He didn't have the Hawaiian shirt thing going on, but pretty close, pretty close. Anyways, back to the topic. What are your thoughts, Roy?
I mean, I feel like I try to find the good games a lot of times. I mean, that's the reason why I started enjoying the Dice Tower and watching the Dice Tower way back in the day, was to find what games are good and try to avoid the bad ones. I get roped into a bunch of bad games all the time. Cards with numbers on it again. No, I'm just kidding. But
only when Chris is around.
But no, it's. I mean, we play all sorts of different stuff, and I mean, in some ways, we do get to choose because we have a shelf of games there. It's like, okay, what actually kind of interests me, and we purposely try to have people review games that are gonna like it the most. You know, we don't force people to play games that are actively bad. So if your game has a terribly bad cover or terribly awful stuff, but sometimes it's. I mean, I know Tom really, and also Chris really enjoy finding those hidden gems. So it's like, I'll take a chance on a game that looks bad but might be good because it could be really good. And I mean, the Dice Tower, because we review so many things, it gives us an opportunity to actually talk about those things too. So that's kind of cool as well.
I do feel like some people are more willing to dig. They're more willing to try out a lot of bad games to find those few special ones.
And it's neat because that comes with the job, right? But the premise of the question is interesting. If we could magically only pick the games that we knew we were going to love, would we do that? And I think personal Chris would love that. But professional Chris, we review games. I want to also review occasionally the ones that are gorgeous stinkers. They look like they're going to be good. They seem like they're going to be good, but they don't sing for some reason. And I think that's important because, kind of like Roy's saying, and you say this a lot, the service of the Dice Tower is hopefully we can present a game in a way that you know whether it'll work for you or not.
Yeah, for sure.
And I might not love a game that a bunch of other people love. And then they will very kindly let me know that in the comments.
So kindly. Chris, you're down.
But I mean, I think there are some games out there that majority of people really enjoy. And there are some games out there that almost everyone loathes. I mean, even the designer was like, eh. No, I'm just kidding. But he's like, I didn't know about game design that much back then, you know? But I mean, it's always a learning process and trying to figure out what games fits your style. I mean, that's why we do reviews, to try to show people what we like so maybe you can figure out what you like, you know?
You know, this reminds me of the person who gives you a gift that is not your kind of game, or it's like Monopoly or something basic. When you also have publishers that are like, hey, I made this game, and you're like, you've never even played very many games, and you just made this game. Now you want me to review it. But yeah, I like what you said, Chris, about how there is a difference between professional, the professional decision I'd make based on this question, and the personal, because obviously I want to play the games that I love, and honestly, in this industry, I think people and reviewers can get burnt out playing lots of games that they don't love. And so you definitely have to find that mix and that balance that works for you. And I think we have over the years. I think we play enough good games and we enjoy games. But then, yeah, sure, we have those rough ones. Our daughter plays some terrible games and she thinks they're good. I don't know. Stuff happens.
If I had to pick one category kind of from that question, if I could magically focus on playing the hidden gems, the ones that don't look great but actually are amazing, that's my favorite kind of thing to call out, to try to grab some attention towards things that otherwise people might look over. That'd be neat. But like Wendy said, that requires a lot of digging, and
yes,
you occasionally find a diamond in the rough, but that means you're digging through a lot of rough.
And then sometimes you think it's a diamond in the rough, and you play it with everybody else, and they're like, Chris, this is not a diamond. Why do you keep making us play this game, Chris? The math doesn't work, Chris. No, it's fine. I'm not talking about a very specific game. It's okay.
Secret number will have its day. It will not.
Secret spoiled. Oh.
But yeah, no, I like this question because it is fantastical, because at the end of the day, we are, just grabbing games off the shelf and being like, well, let's see about this one. But there's a certain joy that comes from that. I enjoy a good experience playing a bad game. Sometimes we laugh about, I don't know how this game got published.
Yeah, that's true. You do create some of those very memorable experiences.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I knew a family that they would take pictures for their wall of family photos every year, specifically at some of the worst moments. like when their car got stuck in the mud and they'd all gotten, like messed up with mud trying to get the tires out. Like they took those family pictures because they're like some of the most stressful experiences in life. They're some of the worst games, but they create the great memories we can look back on and laugh at. So that's fun.
I like that. I think that's a note worth ending on.
There we go.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today for breakfast. We have tons more Winter Spectacular for you, so we will be starting the next stream at 10, and we have the art project. That's the next game up.
All right. Cool. Until next time, my name is Chris Yee.
I'm Roy Caddy.
I'm Wendy Yee.
Have fun taking pictures of the worst days of your life.